Hello and welcome to the Euro podcasts from sportsbet.io. We have, of course, German and Spanish, and this is our Italian version for you this week as well with our good friend Daniele Veri over in Italy. My name is Pete Farries. It is another intriguing week of football in Italy. We will start, Daniele, with Napoli against Como. Now, Napoli are starting to look really, really decent. The addition of Scott McTominay has really added something into this side. He's getting a lot of plaudits early doors, but Como, back-to-back wins and starting to find a bit of momentum themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's true. Will that be enough to stop Napoli? I'm not sure, to be honest, because Napoli have conceded one goal in the last 5 games of the season. And it was a penalty. I mean, last year they conceded 48 in the whole season, so it was absolutely necessary for Antonio Conte to stop that, to improve defensively, and they have done it big time with the arrival of Buongiorno, who's playing a massive season. I mean, Napoli are the team of the moment, I would say, in Italy. As you said, McTominay giving a lot of new opportunities and having a massive impact on the league. Kvaratskhelia back to top form. Antonio Conte meaning mentality and grit and unity of the group. We are instead of I am, as we've often seen last season. Difficult for Como, despite the fact that, as you said, they've got 2 wins in a row and they started playing an entertaining brand of football, and Cutrone scoring twice, Bellotti back to find in the net. But will that be enough in Napoli? Difficult to say. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Como beat Atalanta away. So there is a possibility, but I can't see it doing it also the Diego Armando Maradona, to be honest, now. It's a clear Napoli win for me.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, you look at Como, if they finish 10th this season, that is an absolutely incredible season.
If they finish 14th or 15th, it's an absolute season, definitely, yeah.
I mean, it's interesting with Conte as well, obviously. He's sort of changed formation and style a little bit this season from what we normally get from him, and it's more of a sort of a 4-3-3 at the moment rather than playing with those wing-backs. I mean, is that just about McTominay, or is that about something else that Conte has found?
I mean, as you said, Conte normally displays a 3-5-2 formation, but it also depends on the player he has. I mean, if you want to play Kvaratskhelia and you want to play him as a winger on the whole flank, then it's wrong. And you have to put Kvaratskhelia, who's a massive player, in the position of giving his best. So, and if you are a manager, and Conte is definitely a capable football manager, then you also work with what you have and not only with what you want. So there's a massive difference in that. And Antonio Conte knows what he's doing. Antonio Conte knows what he wants. And he knows football well enough to field a 4-man defense if that's necessary, in my opinion. But I mean, he works with what he has. He has specific requests from the market, one on top of all, obviously the arrival of Lukaku. So I think Napoli invested a lot of money because they've got a great central defender like Buongiorno. They've got Lukaku, who's the man Conte wanted at all costs. They got big improvements in midfield also. So, I mean, Napoli did their part. Now is Antonio Conte's to do his. But, I mean, as I said at the beginning, if you got certain kind of players, then if you want to win, you have to put them in the position they perform at the best. I wouldn't put, I don't know, Lautaro Martinez as a central defender if I were a manager.
That'd be a controversial decision. Very, very controversial decision.
Yeah.
That's why Daniele can't get into the dugout of any Italian club at the moment.
Exactly.
Speaking of Inter Milan, Lautaro Martinez now starting to score some goals. They host Torino, who, after a strong start to the season, have looked a bit weaker in their last 2. Obviously lost in the Coppa Italia to Empoli, then and beaten narrowly by Lazio as well. Inter, simple win in the week in the Champions League. We're recording this, by the way, on Wednesday morning, so there is still some European action to come. But after that disappointing loss in the derby, Inter have recovered quite well.
Yeah, I mean, Inter have played with a little bit disdainfulness maybe at some points during the season. The draws in Genoa and versus Monza, the loss in the derby. I mean, it's difficult to start probably with the same grit after you had a very successful season, at least domestically. Acerbi, who was a extremely important member of the defense last season. I think he turned 36. We've seen it last night. He came on as a substitute in the second half. He's getting a bit slower, and that might have caused a couple of issues, as I think at the beginning of the season. But Inter still have the best squad of the league. I mean, they were there without Lautaro scoring goals. You go back to doing what he does best. So he scored a brace against Udinese the weekend. He scored also last night against Red Star Belgrade. Inter are strong. They are a good side, and they demonstrated it also in the Champions League versus Man City on match day 1. I mean, they've got all it takes to win back-to-back titles in Italy. Obviously, I mean, now we've got 9 clubs within 4 points at the top of the league. It's very interesting. It's very nice also to follow, because you never know what happens, and every week there's a new let's say club at the top of the table. So it's been very interesting. There's plenty of talking points, but I guess we'll have Inter fighting for the title until the very end. And yes, they go back to more solidity, which is important for them. So they were lacking a bit of that at the beginning. They were lacking also Lautaro's goals. So if they find both of them, it's going to be difficult for everyone.
Let's move on, shall we, to Juventus against Cagliari. Now, behind the scenes, we won't go into too much detail on this because we don't really know much at the moment. Cagliari, of course, have had a very sad week. Former player there for 5 years, Andrea Capone, passing away. They travel to Juventus. Listen, Juventus should get the win here, second in the league at the moment. Going fairly solidly, Juve, and the only thing that I suppose might worry you a little bit is sort of a couple of recent 0-0 draws.
Well, you can see it either way. It can worry you or it can back you up. I mean, Juve hasn't conceded any goal, haven't conceded a goal yet in the league. I mean, it's more than remarkable. It's the only club in Europe, so in the top leagues. So it's more than remarkable, and I see it as a positive rather than a negative. There's nothing to be worried about for Juventus. They'll play tonight in Germany against Leipzig. Let's see what an impact that will have on the weekend's match. But I mean, they've been doing quite a lot of turnover recently with many youngsters starting from the beginning. So Thiago Motta is doing a great job. What a manager has to make sure of is that he has a solid defense, and that's most the case for Juventus. And I mean, the let's call them important and fancy players up front are now there. They're gelling together, I will say. So we've seen Lautaro, Vlahovic obviously scoring twice at the weekend against Genoa. Obviously, Genoa isn't the team of the moment, so they've got plenty of issues. They played also behind closed door due to the incidents ahead of the Genoa derby the week before. So, I mean, there were a few things that played for Juventus in that sense, but they are doing well. Cagliari got their first win of the season in Parma on Monday night, but I mean, they obviously don't play during the week, but will that be enough to stop Juventus, a confident Juventus side? I highly doubt that in Turin, to be honest. I see it clearly.
Yeah, it's hard to
I see it clearly coming.
Yeah, it has back Cagliari, isn't it? I mean, I suppose also I've been a bit harsh there. Juve have drawn 0-0 against Roma, away at Empoli, and at home to Napoli. Those aren't bad 0-0 draws, you know? They're just
no, of course. No, of course, especially versus Napoli. I mean, we said that Napoli are very solid at the moment. Napoli could live with a draw. Juventus could live with a draw. So was fair and happy for. They were both happy, I guess, at the end of the game.
Yeah.
We've seen Empoli also the weekend against Fiorentina. They can close all empty spaces. They won't let you play at all. It's a good team this year, Empoli, with a couple of interesting players, definitely. So Empoli is not an easy opponent. Obviously, you would expect Juventus to win against them. In 5 weeks' time, 6 weeks' times, Juventus will win that game for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, and obviously
So the values will go apart and the difference will be clearer the more we get into the season, I guess.
Yeah, Empoli currently sitting in the Europa League places, but Juve.
Yeah, fantastic season, fantastic season. We have to underline that they're doing a great job. They're doing obviously.
I suppose it's still early as well. This is what Matchday 7, so we're still
Yeah,
fairly
exactly.
early overall. We might not see that. Might not see them continue, or we might see them get even better. We don't know. It is still very early. We will finish at the Artemio Franchi. We have got Fiorentina against AC Milan. Now, Fiorentina, I have found even under Montella, this is one of the hardest teams to understand. Fiorentina, I never quite click with them. They're chaotic, while not massively chaotic. They get results, then they just don't get. It's a weird team. For AC Milan, the only losses of late have come in the Champions League. They'll be disappointed, but it's not an awful loss away at Bayer Leverkusen, beaten comfortably by Liverpool. But yet in the league, they look pretty solid.
Yeah, it looks like as if Paulo Fonseca finally squared the circle, I would say, because last night also against Leverkusen, obviously they didn't play for 1 hour because the Germans were all over the place. Honestly, they played great football. But I mean, in the last 30 plus minutes, AC Milan were a very good side who hit the bar, who forced their goalkeeper to a couple of great saves, who missed a couple of chances, one with Morata, with another massive chance. Morata will still be thinking of it now as we speak, probably. So if they keep that momentum, if they keep the same playing the same football they did against Leverkusen or at the weekend, then I can see AC Milan coming away with the 3 points because they've got a few of their men getting into form properly. Theo Hernandez, good. I mean, struggling on his side for the first 60 minutes of the game yesterday, but Leao, who was probably meant to help him out, is not exactly the man you would expect doing some dirty work at the back, and he didn't. So he was left alone to Hernandez with the fast players Xabi Alonso has. It was very difficult for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, as you said, I still haven't really understood what Fiorentina are like. So they have a very good player who's Gudmundsson from Iceland. They bought it from Monza last season. He made his debut not last weekend, the weekend before, scoring twice against Lazio, both penalties. But he's a massive player. He's a very good player, and he will do very well. Around him, I see a lot of, I don't know, I wouldn't call it mediocrity because it's not mediocrity. I can't say mediocrity, but also a lot of.
I think it's players at Fiorentina. I think it's players who didn't reach their potential. Is kind of the thing. So Mandragora possibly could be in there. Moise Keane could be in there as well. Players who had extreme amounts of potential, but there's a lot across that side who just didn't ever quite get as good as they should have been. Maybe.
Yeah, and they lost Nico Gonzalez over the summer. Went to Juventus. They played with two wingers. I don't know now. They used to play mostly with two wingers. Now they have two second strikers behind the lone striker, behind Moise Kean. Even there, Moise Kean, I don't know, as you said, potential here, potential there, national player, national team player, but still played for Paris Saint-Germain, played abroad everywhere, Everton, whatever. But I mean, I don't know. Some people in Italy think he can score 15 goals or something and be indecisive for a season. I really doubt it myself, but this is only my personal opinion, so it doesn't have to be right. So I highly doubt that Fiorentina can make the most out of him, so to say. And despite the fact that Fiorentina sells player, because they sell player for good money, but they also buy players for good money. So they've got a property who are heavy, so they are loaded with money. So Commisso, the American owner, they have a project. They are building, or they have already built a new training center, and they always talk about building a new stadium or refurbishing the present one, the Artemio Franchi. But I don't know. It's a bit of a weird team. It's a bit of a weird team. I agree. But they also have their qualities. I'm not saying that they're crap or they don't play football or anything. But it's just, I mean, it's the third time in a row they play Conference League, and they go, obviously, in front of them or above them, there are clubs who have a better structure, more tradition, more money. No, more. I'm not sure even about more money, because I mean, they are honestly Fiorentina owners
rich,
have a lot of money, but I mean, it's not like they just waste money and throw money out of the window, obviously.
No, it's just very strange. Just for a couple of years, because they were sort of, you had your big boys. So should we just say Juve into AC for a long time as that top three? And you had Roma, and you had Napoli, and you had Fiorentina in maybe the next bracket. But I just think I feel like Fiorentina have dropped out of that bracket now, and it's actually those main teams: Napoli, Roma, and then kind of Fiorentina are in the mix after that. It's a weird side. I agree with you. I can't see how AC Milan don't win this game, particularly with the way that they're playing. I am loving this season of Serie A so far. We've said it's early, Daniele, but this has been certainly one of my favourite starts to a Serie A season for a number of years.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a long time since we had such an open league. I mean, if you consider what happened last season and the season before with Inter and the Napoli absolutely dominating the first part of the season and already stretching their hands on the Scudetto. So this year we got, as I said, 9 clubs within the first 4 points of the table, and it's been unpredictable. I mean, going further, there will be more clarity, I'm sure. Like Udinese, Empoli, they won't keep up. So, but it's still difficult to predict who is going to keep up, to be honest. It looks like Napoli will, but Napoli haven't had any difficulty yet.
No.
Might happen. You never know. Injuries, whatever, bad form, whatever. Obviously, they don't play in Europe.
Just looks so much stronger since the signings, don't they? Lukaku coming in, they look so much stronger since the signings, and it's only really
Conte is the signing, mate. Conte is the signing, and obviously Conte is capable of attracting players, because I can't see McTominay coming without Conte. I mean, even Lukaku, he wouldn't have gone to Napoli if Conte hadn't been there. So the signing is Antonio Conte, but I mean, then he's not the one who takes to the pitch. So the players finally take to the pitch, but he has that quality and capacity to getting into the players' minds and make them perform at their best. So this is something that you have to recognize to Antonio Conte. You might like or not like him, might like or not like the way his clubs, his teams play, but the man knows his trade, and he knows what he's doing.
We're expecting the big boys then, the likes of Napoli, Inter, Juve and AC Milan to win this week. But honestly, have a look at the action in Serie A. Watch what you can. If you're looking at the bets, do what you can there as well. It's an absolutely brilliant season so far in Italy. Daniele, thank you very much as always.
Maybe for those who are interested in Italian football, maybe watch the derby dell'Emilia-Romagna, Bologna versus Parma. It's also an interesting game at the weekend. An open game. Parma losing at home to Cagliari fully unexpectedly on Monday night. Bologna playing in Liverpool tonight. So it's gonna be a big game with emotions and maybe an unexpected result.
Yeah, have a look at that because that's going to be a good game. And actually, that game's quite evenly priced. That could be a wide open event to get involved in. Thank you, Daniele. As always, my friend, it is an absolute joy and a pleasure. We will speak to Daniele in the next round of the Italian action.